For my concert comparison, I chose to go to a string quartet and a wind ensemble performance for this project. I think that these two concerts are considered to be both classified as a form of Western art music due to the types of instrumentation that are used. I chose to go to these two ensembles because I believed that it would be more beneficial for me to go to two concerts that were comprised of opposing instruments, as I believed it would be um, help me develop a deep understanding of the two different musical settings. Overall, I enjoyed the two concerts that I went to, and I'm glad that I went to both. The first concert I went to was Miami University's Wind Ensemble performance at Hall Auditorium on October 11th of this year. The audience was comprised mostly of students and family members. I almost thought that the performance had a full house too, which gave me a first good impression about the concert I was attending. What really made this experience great for me was that I actually saw some students who were in my band in high school, and I saw them play within this group of individuals. To see and hear them play and to compare how well they have advanced their musical technique was something that made this performance very special to me. I also felt that the venue of this particular place made me feel as if I was going to see a professional concert, as the seats were that of a typical classical theater theme that I have seen through visiting places like Carnegie Hall in New York and Severance Hall in Cleveland. Out of the many different songs that I listened to, I wanted to discuss Molly on the Shore, written by Percy Aldridge Granger, and by the song Chester by William Schuman. I wanted to talk about these two pieces because I thought that they were my favorite, and I've have some bias towards Molly on the Shore because I played this and heard this song multiple times in high school. I also felt that they were the most interesting to listen to. For Molly on the Shore, I immediately noticed that the rhythm was in simple duple just by listening to the clarinets and saxophones at the very beginning. I also felt that there was a lot of disjunct interval melodies throughout the piece, and specifically heard this at the beginning when the clarinets came in. Due to a vast majority of there being disjunct melodies, I thought that the range of the piece was very high as well. For harmony, I think that the key of this piece is in a major key, as I did not hear a lot of dissonant chords. I heard mostly conjunct chords, but occasionally heard dissonant chords in the clarinets and saxophones when it sounded like there was a saxophone solo at one point during the song. With the craziness of the piece, I ultimately felt that the song was comprised mostly of polyphonic texture, with occasionally homophonic textures during clarinet and saxophone solos. For Chester, I felt that the piece was very much different from Molly on the Shore. I felt that piece was in quadruple meter and that all the instruments played the same notes at the beginning, instead of just a few playing at the beginning. For harmony, I constantly felt that the piece was in a minor key since I felt that there were notes that made me feel as if there were dissonant chords between the woodwinds and the brass. I also felt that the tempo was much slower than that of the Molly on the Shore and was less energetic and more triumphant sounding instead. And primarily that was at the very beginning. Another major difference I found was that I did not really hear that much percussion in Molly on the Shore, and that I constantly heard the sound of drumming and more percussion instruments in Chester. I also believed that the texture was primarily monophonic and that there were no solos, and I felt that all the instruments were playing the same melody and notes throughout the piece at the same time. Overall, I felt that the differences in a Chester and Molly on the Shore affected me a lot since I felt on the verge of tears when listening to the song Chester, and I felt on the edge of my seat with excitement when listening to Molly on the Shore. I think that hearing these musical pieces live instead of hearing it recorded really helped me feel a greater sense of emotion as I could visibly see how the performers felt throughout watching their body language during their performance. Overall, I really enjoyed going to this particular concert. For the second concert that I attended, I went to the Faculty Oxford String Quartet concert in our classroom on November 9th of this semester. The audience was comprised of mostly professors and graduate students, which was very much different from the wind ensemble performance. In terms of the venue, I felt that the concert was very much professional since many professors and faculty members were sitting beside me during the performance, and the stage was set up where the lights were all centered toward the stage and not on the audience, which was much different from the experience I felt I had when going to the wind ensemble. I also wanted to go to this concert because I had only gone to one string ensemble performance before this one and wanted to have more experience with listening to them at concerts. Out of the many different pieces I heard at this recital, I found that the Italian Serenade, written by Hugo Wolf, and Fantasy Quintet, written by R. Vaughan Williams, to be the most interesting to me. I felt that they were the most interesting because the two pieces started the recital and caught my attention almost immediately after the pieces started. I really enjoyed listening to them and watching the professor's enthusiasm throughout both pieces. For Italian Serenade, I immediately felt that the piece was homophonic as it started out with a violin solo and a violin and viola accompaniment, after everyone started to play at once. After looking back at the piece as a whole, I realized that there were many solos by a violin player and felt that the entire piece was homophonic. I also felt as if the violin part was trying to confess love to someone, as I felt the violin's melody was very romantic sounding at times, and that the violin part was also trying to mock or tease at romance at times as well. The instrumentation was two violins, a viola, and a cello. I felt that the rhythm was in simple triple, as I thought that I heard a triplet sound throughout the entire piece. In terms of harmony, I felt that the piece was in a major key and that there were many consonant chords. For the violin that played many solos, I felt that his range throughout the entire piece was very disjunct at times with a wide range. I also felt that in terms of volume, the entire group was equally balanced and that there were many descending and ascending lines. I also felt that there was repetition as I heard a melodic line repeated in a call and response way between the violin, then viola, and finally the cello, which I thought was very interesting and very unique to hear. For Fantasy Quintet, I thought that this piece was very different from the Italian Serenade, since the piece started out with a viola solo instead of the entire group. I also felt that the viola solo in this piece was very much darker sounding and very sad, as it was on a lower range than that of the violin player in the Italian Serenade during his solo. I also felt that this song was completely different from the other, since this song was comprised of two violins, two violas, and a cello. In terms of harmony, I felt that this piece was in a minor key, as I felt that there were dissonant chords between the viola solo and violin accompaniment, instead of a major key like in Italian Serenade. I also felt that the dissonant chords were not hurtful to my ear, but that they meshed very well. In terms of meter, I felt the meter was in a simple triple meter, since at times I heard that the notes could be classified as a triplet, but that the notes were not as clear to distinguish as in the Italian Serenade piece. I also felt that the rhythm in this piece was slower in the Fantasy Quintet as well. However, I felt that the range of the violin in this piece was very much like the range of the violin part in the Italian Serenade, in that there was a lot of high range. Overall, I felt that the differences between the two pieces affected me a lot, as I felt more like I was in awe when listening to the Italian Serenade, and I felt that I was more uneasy during the Fantasy Quintet. I again felt that listening to the music live instead of recorded was very helpful, because I felt that I would have had a different feeling towards both pieces if I had not seen the smiles or facial reactions of the players while they were playing or listening to the other players playing. Really enjoyed this assignment, and I believe I will try to go to more Western art music concerts in the future, as I have really enjoyed this class over the duration of the semester, and I felt like this experience really enhanced my critical listening skills of these types of musical settings. I really enjoyed being able to watch the faculty members play the string instruments because again I haven't really had that much experience with listening to string instruments, and I felt that that was the perfect setting and perfect way for me to enhance my learning. So I really enjoyed that I actually had the opportunity of going to see that. I really hope that you enjoyed my video. I'm sorry it's a little long, but I really enjoyed going to these concerts, and I wanted to make the video show that. Um, Thank you again for creating this assignment and for watching my video. Bye!